Honored guests, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the second plenary session of the Jeju Forum for Peace and Prosperity 2019. My name is Jane Lee, and I will be your MC for today. In this session, Her Excellency Helen Clark will give a lecture on the topic of making cities resilient, the role of cooperation and leadership, which will be followed by a dialogue with Jeju Governor Mr. Won. Then, let me first present to you our two honored panelists. First, former Prime Minister of New Zealand, Her Excellency Helen Clark. Next, His Excellency Governor Won Hee-ryung of the Jeju Self-Governing Province. Now I'd like to turn the program over to Governor Won, who will preside over the session. Please welcome Governor Won again with a big round of applause.
예, 여러분 안녕하십니까? 제주 프롬 이제 어제 개회식을 전후해서 3일차를 맡고 있는데요. 오늘 정말 우리가 만나 뵙고 싶은 헬렌 클락 전 뉴질랜드 총리님을 모셨습니다. 자, 본격적인 우리 대화로 들어가기 전에 우리 어제 국가적으로 아주 슬픈 가슴 아픈 소식을 전했습니다. 우리 헝가리 부다페스트에서 유람선을 탔던 한국인 관광객 33명이 사망 또는 부상, 실종 이렇게 돼서 지금 구조와 수색 작업이 헝가리 정부와 우리 한국 관계자들이 급히 파견돼가지고 진행이 되고 있습니다. 신속한 구조와 회복 그리고 다시는 이런 사고가 없기를 바라면서 몇 초 동안만 잠깐 눈을 감고 우리가 그에 대해서 애도와 구조에 대한 기원을 담는 시간을 갖고 우리 대화를 진행하도록 하겠습니다. 모두 눈을 감고 잠시만 우리 구조를 기원해 주시기를 부탁드리겠습니다. 네, 감사합니다. 우리 헬렌 클럭 총리님께서 제가 이 무대에 오기 전에 잠깐 환담을 나눴는데요. 여기 오시기 전에 10일 넘게 네팔 카트만두를 거쳐서 에베레스트 트레킹을 하고 오셨다고 합니다. 워낙 트레킹도 좋아하시지만 에베레스트를 첫 등반했던 힐러리 경이 바로 뉴질랜드 분이라고 합니다. 뉴질랜드는 에베레스트 등반뿐만 아니라 우리 세계 최초로 여성 투표권을 도입한 나라이기도 하고요. 그 이후에 복지국가를 추구하면서 인권과 복지 면에서 늘 전 세계적으로 앞서가는 역할들을 해왔었습니다. 이따가 말씀 중에 나올지 모르겠지만 최근에는 세계 최초로 웰빙 예산을 도입해서 정부의 예산 개념 자체를 완전히 원점에서 다시 출발하는 그러한 시도를 함으로써 전 세계에 주목을 받고 있기도 합니다. 우리 헬렌 클락 총리께서는 1980년대에 노동당 여성 의원으로 정치 경력을 출발하셔서 30여 년 가까운 뉴질랜드 정치인으로서 활동을 하면서 수상까지 총리를 지내셨고요. 그 총리 지내실 때 한국의 젊은 정치인들을 1년에 한두 명씩 초청을 해서 뉴질랜드 총리의 펠로우 프로그램을 진행한 적이 있습니다. 바로 제가 2006년도에 초청을 받아서 뉴질랜드 오클랜드와 뉴질랜드 여러 분야들을 견학하고 서로 친교를 맺은 적이 있는데요. 그렇게 굳이 따진다면 당시에 뉴질랜드 총리가 헬런이었기 때문에 저는 뉴질랜드 총리 펠로우이자 헬런의 펠로우이기도 합니다. 그래서 오늘 이렇게 뵙게 돼서 개인적으로도 너무 기쁘고 영광으로 생각하는데요. 우리 헬런은 뉴질랜드 총리를 마치신 다음에는 국제적인 활동을 많이 하셨습니다. UNDP, UN 개발기구죠. 거기에서 지금 UN이 추구하고 있는 지속 가능한 개발 목표를 향해서 우리 전 세계 개발도상국과 국제 간의 협력들을 이끌고 오셨고, 최근에는 반기문 총장님의 뒤를 이은 UN 사무총장의 가장 강력한 후보, 세계 최초의 여성 UN 사무총장 후보로서도 강력하게 부각이 되셨는데, 물론 결과는 조금 달랐습니다만은 전 세계, 특히 여성들에게 도전하는 헬런이라는 역할 모델로서 현재도 아주 왕성한 활동을 하고 계십니다. 그래서 오늘 저도 질문하고 싶은 것도 많고, 아마 여러분들도 우리 헬런으로부터 듣고 싶은 이야기가 많을 텐데요. 우리 헬런에게 발언 기회를 드려서 충분히 그 메시지를 듣고 나서 헬런의 특강을 들은 이후에 제가 그 특강을 좀 더 풍성하게 하기 위한 그런 인도자로서 제가 진행을 해보도록 하겠습니다. 헬런.
Thank you. Thank you, Governor, for your kind introduction, and thank you to the organisers of the Jeju Forum for inviting me to participate this year. I've made many official visits to Korea, but this is the first time to this beautiful island, which I've heard a lot about. And I know there are two very particular connections between New Zealand and Jeju. One is the Governor himself, who came as a Prime Minister's Fellow to visit New Zealand when I was Prime Minister. And the second, of course, is that Korea is a major grower of kiwi fruit under the Zespri brand, which supplies the world. And when the New Zealand kiwi fruit aren't in season, the kiwi fruit from Jeju are. So together we managed to maintain global continuity of supply of kiwi fruit. I know that the forum has a big dedication to the quest for peace and prosperity in the Asia Pacific. And clearly that matters a lot to me as a global citizen, but also as a citizen of New Zealand in the most southern corner of the Asia Pacific region. New Zealand has been a great beneficiary of the growth and development of Asia, including of Korea. But of course, conversely, we were caught up in the troubles when this region was not an area of peace and stability. We live today in very turbulent times again, and there's been a lot of discussion about that at the forum. And yet maintaining peace and stability in this region is so vital for its ongoing development, which these days needs to shift its focus to sustainable development. The region's economic growth and development, and that of Korea in particular, in recent years has been phenomenal. But as we know, that's occurred at a very heavy cost to our natural environment, with our air, our land, our forests, our waterways, our oceans, our wildlife, all under great stress. With peace and stability, nations can focus their full attention on dealing with the challenge of achieving inclusive and resilient and sustainable development, as the UN's global agenda for sustainable development and the Sustainable Development Goals suggest that we should do. Now, our session this morning starts with a focus on cities, and in my remarks I want to comment on the role of the cities in building the sustainable future which the Sustainable Development Goals envisage. And I want to talk about these areas. Firstly, the challenges for our cities in achieving sustainable development. Second, the state of play on the Sustainable Development Goal number 11, which is dedicated to making cities and human settlements inclusive and safe and resilient and sustainable. And then to look at what cities could do to speed up progress on meeting that goal, including by sharing experiences of what works. And 4 cities also read subnational government, as we see here in this region of Jeju. So firstly, the challenges. We're trying to achieve sustainable development goals in cities, knowing that firstly, urban populations around the world are rising very, very fast. More than half the world's people live in urban areas now, and that will rise to around 60% by 2030, which is the date for achieving the Sustainable Development Goals. Over 40 years, we expect urban populations to virtually double, and that kind of fast rate of growth puts huge pressure on the existing systems of governance, on planning capacities, and on the services which cities can offer. And as we know, extreme poverty remains pervasive in many cities. Secondly, we have the challenge of climate change. So many of our cities are located in areas which are very vulnerable to major weather events and their consequences, not least in the Asia-Pacific, the region of the world which is most exposed to natural disasters. Throughout history, where do we put our cities and towns? We put them on the coastline by the sea. We put them at the river mouths. This makes them very vulnerable. And we now pay the price for that as we try to adapt to what is happening with our climate. Then when we add in the risk of earthquakes and tsunamis following them, overall the disaster risk exposure of cities is great. Our cities host most of the world's critical infrastructure, our political institutions, our major socioeconomic architecture. So making cities safe and resilient is extremely important. Now, I mentioned we have, secondly, a sustainable development goal dedicated to cities. The need to adopt sustainable pathways is very urgent before the challenges become overwhelming. And each year the United Nations is reporting on what progress the cities are making on the Sustainable Development Goal 11. And they report on issues of air quality, the sprawl of our cities, the extent to which people are living in slums, and on the waste management issues. So what do these reports tell us? Well, they tell us that more than 90% of the world's population in cities is breathing air which has a quality below the safety standard for the World Health Organization. Think about that, more than 90% breathing air which is below the WHO standard. Even worse, more than half of all our people in cities are exposed to air pollution, which is 2.5 times what the World Health Organization says it should be. And obviously, fossil fuel-based energy generation and use and the lack of enough clean and sustainable transport, including public transport, contribute a lot to that. Secondly, the expansion of urban land is outpacing the growth of urban populations. Many cities are becoming less densely occupied. There is often uncontrolled sprawl that puts strain on access to transport systems and other services. Traffic gridlock and high road accident rates are among the consequences, with the low and middle income developing countries having the greatest burden of road crash fatalities. Achieving greater density of habitation, building up rather than out, including through developing what were brown fields or old industrial areas of cities, building higher, making major investments in public transport. These are all essential for creating the sustainable cities of the future. And I think Korea has a lot to show the world in the way in which it has developed its cities. Then on the slum populations, almost a quarter of the world's urban population lives in slums. Now, the proportion of people who live in slums has been going down, but actually the absolute number of slum dwellers is going up from about 807 million at the turn of the century in 2000 to 883 million at last measurement. Where you have concentrations of extreme poverty in crowded and insanitary conditions, obviously there is great risk to slum residents. The 2030 Agenda, the UN Global Agenda, talks about leaving no one behind, yet clearly not far short of 1 billion people are being left behind living in the world's slums. This is a huge challenge to many cities. The Governor mentioned I'd just come from Kathmandu, which experiences a lot of the challenges which I'm speaking of right now. And I must say that the lack of emphasis on decent housing and global development has often puzzled me as a former Minister of Housing in New Zealand, because I recognise a safe and a healthy home as the foundation for building a healthy society in the broadest sense. The very best education and health systems can't do their job if housing is damp, insanitary, and doesn't have modern energy supply. And I do think our cities have a major role to play in planning for and actually also in providing for accommodation for their citizens, which is accessible, affordable, and secure for those on all incomes. So often I have seen the poorest people in our world living in very vulnerable conditions in cities, on hillsides which are unstable, at the bottom of a ravine or on a river plain, which is very vulnerable to flooding. And I believe our cities must do better for the poorest and most vulnerable citizens. And the final point of measurement that the UN is doing on city sustainability is around solid waste management. This is a huge challenge too. If not properly disposed of, waste is insanitary, it's unsightly, it can block your drainage systems, it can contribute to flooding and the spread of disease. One study of arrangements in 101 countries of solid waste management revealed that only 2/3 of the world's urban population had access to municipal waste services, collection and disposal. And of course, there is an imperative to adopt much more ambitious waste management goals like zero waste going to landfills. So let's come to what our cities could do to speed up progress on becoming safe and inclusive and resilient and sustainable as they should. I think, first of all, the quality of city leadership and governance matters enormously. We need leaders at the subnational level who have vision, they bring passion to their job, they inspire others, including their public officials, to act. And they need to be inclusive in the way that they govern. So how could that be supported? Well, firstly, I think our city and subnational governments actually need to be empowered to act. So often, they are limited in what they can do by national legislation, which is too prescriptive, and it constrains the ability of the cities to innovate and to address the issues that they see locally. That has to change, because with the weight of the world population moving into urban settings, we have to succeed in cities if we're to succeed in sustainable development. And they must be free to innovate, experiment, explore solutions. Secondly, I think it's critical that the city governments practice the inclusive and responsive governance which the global agenda calls for. I think cities can be models for collaboration between the citizen and the authorities, ensuring that all can be heard, all can contribute to policy making, to planning and implementation. And that does mean, globally, paying special attention to those who haven't been heard much in the past. Let's start with women. Let's start with young people. Let's start with people with disabilities, with ethnic minorities, with the rainbow community, with marginalised communities in general. Cities must reach out to those who dwell in the slums and in the most disaster-prone and crime-scarred communities, and commit to work with them to address the specific challenges that they face. So I'm a very strong advocate of participatory planning, reaching and engaging everybody. Thirdly, I strongly believe there must be zero tolerance of corruption in our city governments. So often around the world, we see citizens getting services which they should get as of right, only in return for a bribe. If city governments aren't seen to uphold the rule of law, then the citizens are going to be very cynical about whatever city leadership says is a priority. And that's not a good climate in which to pursue sustainable development, because you need the engagement of every citizen and every household. In the global agenda, there is a target which calls for substantially reducing corruption and bribery in all its forms. This target needs to be given priority in all our cities, as achieving it is fundamental to getting good results from investment in infrastructure, our local economy, and our public services. And obviously, it is very important to have total transparency on procurement, on contracts of all kinds, and on audits, evaluations, and accounts. There are many ways now around the world of encouraging citizens to report corrupt behaviour, and through the smartphone apps, this is being made easier than ever before. So I think it is critical at the urban level, as at the national level, to have ethics and integrity accepted as basic values by politicians and officials, basic values which contribute to and drive sustainable development. The next point is that achieving these goals of being resilient and sustainable and safe and inclusive do require a capacity for planning across government, for coordination across government. And I do see cities as natural leaders on this, because planning for communities' basic needs and delivering on those plans are at the very heart of what our city governments do. Actually, at the national level, most developed countries have long since given up any serious attempt at national planning. But the local governments still do have those skills and deliver on them, hence the vital importance they have in achieving sustainable development. Then the old ways of development, pursued at any price to the health and well-being of people and the environment, need to end. We need inclusive and sustainable development which takes human well-being forward, doesn't widen inequalities further, and doesn't trash the environment. Growing now and cleaning up later is not an option. That approach has got the world into the mess it's in today, with a fast-warming climate and loss of biodiversity. We only have the resources of one planet to live on, and yet we've been living and developing in a way which assumes we have the resources of 3, 4, or more planets. That's not sustainable. So our cities' planning capacities need to be built up to achieve that better balance and development across the economic, social, and environmental. And our cities will need good staff, they'll need good policy frameworks, and they will need to continually modernise and streamline their administration to see that it is serving the current and emerging needs and not the needs of years ago. Obviously, the urban planning for sustainability needs to cover not only environmental management. Cities need to plan as to how they are going to be more equitable, more inclusive, more peaceful, more tolerant. Cities can be hubs of innovation and creativity. They must plan for public space, so often sacrificed under development pressures. Our cities of the future should be places where people are proud to live and where they can enjoy opportunity and security. On resources, money isn't everything, but it always helps. Local government in many countries is constrained by traditional financing options, like rates on properties, fees for local services, maybe local sales taxes, central government grants, and issuing bonds. And how to widen financing options for cities is a discussion that needs to be had country by country. And cities should share experiences about what works in financing. And what may look like attractive options at first sight can have very significant hidden costs. Public-private partnerships for transport infrastructure, for example, can be risky to our city governments where the contracts have been poorly designed from the public point of view. But of course, every city wants productive investment, and getting it should encourage jobs, it should increase city revenue, it should contribute to a good cycle of development. And I think local governments can contribute to that good cycle by seeing that they have a transparent and honest enabling environment and well-designed policy and regulation. I think cities also have the opportunity to steer investment towards sustainability, for example, in the local energy supply, the transport system, the urban design, and the waste management infrastructure and provision. So to conclude, the rapid pace of urbanisation, urban populations set to double in 40 years, makes it more important than ever that the world's cities can rise to the challenge of resilient and sustainable development. And the good news is that we see global leadership being exercised by many cities. You take the C40 Cities Climate Leadership Group. That's an advance of many countries in its breadth of vision for sustainable, inclusive, climate-resilient cities. The history of planning of many cities means they do have a capacity to coordinate policy and action across sectors, which frankly a lot of central governments have lost in the developed world. And now these skills of planning and coordination need to be put at the service of sustainable development, ensuring that simultaneously our cities prioritise the health and well-being of their people, their local economy and the environment. And getting that balance right is still business unusual for many people. Around the world, we do see cities really taking on the challenge of sustainable development, doing whatever they can to advance it. Some of you may have noticed that Amsterdam in the Netherlands recently announced that as of 2030, they are not going to have a fossil fuel-fired car anywhere in their city. No car fired by petrol or diesel. We see many cities investing in better urban design, in more public transport, in dedicated lanes for cycling and walking, and in energy-efficient new buildings and retrofitting old ones. We see many cities setting a tone from the top of inclusion of the poorest and most marginalised citizens, including refugees and migrants. So I think, in conclusion, it's very important to share all these experiences across cities and countries, as how cities respond to these 21st century challenges we have is going to have a huge impact on whether at the national and global level we can actually achieve this inclusive, just, resilient, sustainable future which the UN's Sustainable Development Goals very much point us towards and which the world rather badly needs. Thank you very much.
예, 헬렌 감사합니다. 여러분, 제가 따로 요약해 드릴 필요 없이 워낙 명쾌하게 말씀해 주신 것 같습니다. 이 도시화가 전 세계적으로 급속하게 진행이 되고 있는데 그에 따라서 환경의 문제, 또 도시에서의 빈곤의 문제, 또 여기에 따라서 많은 그 삶의 질의 문제들이 나오고 있는데 이것을 해결하기 위한 지속 가능한 발전이라는 그 목표, 이미 유엔에서 정해놓은 것들이 있고 그 기준들도 있는데 이런 부분들을 가지고 많은 도시들이 서로 각자의 사정에 맞게 노력들을 하고 있고 또 협력하고 있기도 합니다. 특히 이런 지속 가능한 개발의 목표를 위해서는 중앙정부의 적정한 지방에 대한 권한, 그리고 지방 자체의 리더십과 거버넌스, 시민들의 참여, 그리고 부패에 대해서 무관용한 그런 투명한 이런 환경들과 도시의 혁신적이고 창의적인 계획, 그리고 이것을 뒷받침하기 위한 지방 재원뿐만 아니라 민간의 참여까지도, 민간 기업의 참여까지도 끌어들일 수 있는 이러한 재원의 조달, 이런 부분들에 대해서 정말 많은 노력들이 기울여지고 이런 것들이 서로 경험이 교류가 되면서 이 문제를 해결해 나가야 된다. 그리고 이제 그런 국제적인 행동을 UNDP 사무총장의 경험을 통해서 많이 하고 계십니다. 그래서 제가 이 주제에 대해서 기본적으로 하면서 또 모처럼 우리 헬렌 총리님이 워낙 귀하신 분이기 때문에 관심을 가질 만한 몇 가지 주제도 제가 이 이야기를 이끌어 보겠습니다만은 우리 청중석에서도 혹시 헬렌 총리님에게 질문하고 싶은 사항이 있으면 간단하게 그 질문 요지만 메모해서 우리 진행위원에게 주시면 제가 시간이 허락하는 대로 기회를 가져보도록 하겠습니다. 그리고 만약에 우리 특히 오늘 여학생들 중에 직접 한번 구두로 헬렌 총리님께 질문을 하고 답변을 듣는 기회를 갖고 싶다, 이런 학생이 있으시면 제가 특별한 기회를 드리도록 하겠습니다. 그러면 아마 이동 마이크는 없으니까 앞으로 나와서 우리 진행 쪽에서 마이크를 주시도록 하면 좋을 것 같습니다. 그래서 자, 질문에 대한 메모든지 아니면 직접 질문을 하고 싶다, 이 부분을 우리 진행 측에다 여러분 전달해 주시길 바라겠고요. 제가 우선 먼저 궁금한 것들을 질문을 하면서 우리 헬렌 총리님의 이야기를 조금 더 이끌어내 보도록 하겠습니다. 지금 그 도시의 지속 가능한 개발에 대한 그런 목표와 이것을 하기 위한 리더십, 그리고 시민들의 참여, 우리들이 해야 될 노력과 협력에 대해서 정말 명쾌한 그런 말씀을 해주셨습니다. 잘 들었고요. 우리 제주도의 경우에는 지난 한 10년 정도 사이에 관광객이 70만 인구의 관광객이 1,500만 명까지 늘어나면서 한편으로는 급격한 경제 성장을 이루었지만 교통, 쓰레기 또는 경제 성장에 따른 격차, 이러한 것들로 인해서 방금 우리 헬렌께서 이야기하신 그 도시의 문제들을 가장 저희들이 집중적으로 겪고 있기도 합니다. 물론 이것을 해결하기 위해서 많이 노력은 하고 있습니다만은 여기서 부닥치는 문제들이 개발에 따라서 이익을 보는 분들은 더 경제 성장을 추구하고요. 거기에는 환경에 대한 보존은 그것은 정부나 다른 사람들이 부담을 해야 된다는 그런 입장을 취하고 있죠. 또 대다수의 사람들은 경제 성장이 좀 늦춰지더라도 환경이 보존돼야 된다는 입장을 취하기도 하고, 이래서 이해관계와 견해의 차이에 따른 이러한 사회 갈등으로 이어지기도 합니다. 그리고 이러한 목표들을 어떻게 조화시켜 나갈지, 이런 부분들에 대해서 사실 우리 지역사회에서 이런 것들을 집단적인 의사결정을 해 나가는 데 있어서나 이것들의 그 시민들의 참여와 합의를 이끌어 나가는 과정에서 많은 갈등을 겪고 있기도 하거든요. 이것은 제주만의 문제가 아니라 아마 전 세계에서 공통적으로 겪는 문제일 텐데, 혹시 이런 것들을 지혜롭게 해결해 나가기 위한 어떤 경험이나 제안이 있으신지 말씀을 부탁드리겠습니다.
Well, firstly, as someone who travels quite a lot, I see mass tourism putting a lot of pressure on many amazing places, and it does require very careful planning, and I think also some choices. You know, for Jeju, for New Zealand, whatever, we can choose volume or we can choose value. I go for value, because what is the unique proposition of New Zealand or Jeju as a destination? It's the environment. What do people come for? They come for your mountains, your rural areas, your landscape, your beachside. So looking after that, that is the goose that lays the golden egg, as the saying goes. So it's obviously always for tourism operators, they want numbers, numbers, numbers. But I think for unique destinations like ours, and I speak of you and of New Zealand, we can afford to be fussy, and we can afford to say this is the kind of tourism we want. It's got to be eco-friendly. It's got to be consistent with our values as a community. I think it's also important to spread benefits, because sometimes the economic spin-off is confined to major centres, and there's not the scope given for the smaller eco-lodge adventure tourism that there should be. I think New Zealand has a lot to show the world on that. But in essence, I would always advise countries not to go for the volume, but to go for the value. Maybe double the price and halve the numbers, you know, in order to keep that balance that you're looking for between your environment and your economic growth.
네, 양적인 성장 그 자체를 추구하기보다는 그 속에 있는 가치를 중시함으로써 이런 속도라든가 이런 것들의 조화들을 추구해 나갈 수 있을 것이라는 말씀이시고요. 뉴질랜드는 그런 면에서도 상당히 모범적이고 저희들이 배울 점이 많다고 생각을 합니다. 우리 제주도의 경우에는 단순히 다른 세계 도시들이 갖고 있는 환경 기준이나 어떤 사회적 기준보다도 훨씬 더 높은 기준을 추구하고 있습니다. 아시다시피 제주는 유네스코 세계 자연유산으로 지정돼 있기도 하고요. 또 우리 사회적인 면에서는 우리의 비극적인 서로의 갈등의 경험을 서로 상생으로 승화시켜 나가는 그런 의미에서 평화의 섬으로 지정이 되고 있기도 합니다. 우선 그런 면에서는 저희가 카본 프리 아일랜드, 화석 연료를 전혀 쓰지 않는 그러한 청정 환경의 섬으로서 2030년까지 그리고 자동차도 전부 전기 자동차로 해나가고 모든 에너지를 신재생 에너지로 바꿔나가는 그런 프로젝트를 야심적으로 추진하고 있기도 합니다. 물론 그 과정에서 어려움이 매우 많습니다. 우선 이 환경의 높은 기준을 추구하는 면에서 아까 그 유럽의 암스테르담의 화석연료 추방 이런 프로그램도 말씀하셨는데요. 우리 뉴질랜드의 경우에도 카본 제로 이니셔티브 이걸 진행하고 있는 걸로 알고 있는데요. 그런 면에서 여기에서 특히 이 청정 환경을 위한 화석 연료와 기후 변화에 대한 대응에서 우리가 부닥치고 있는 여러 가지 어려움을 어떻게 극복해 나갈지 하고 또 국가적인 차원에서 카본 제로 이니셔티브를 추구하고 있기 때문에 카본 프리 아일랜드를 추구하고 있는 제주에 대해서 어떤 조언을 하고 싶은 부분에 대해서 부탁드리겠습니다.
Well, New Zealand has just introduced legislation to its parliament called Carbon Zero, zero carbon legislation, and the aim is, I guess, to have no net carbon emissions by 2030. And this is entirely achievable for New Zealand. When I was Prime Minister, we also set such objectives, and then governments change and things don't have quite the same priority. But New Zealand is back to saying, look, we may not be a major contributor to the world greenhouse gas emissions, but that doesn't matter. We have to take our share of the responsibility, and we will. Now, on the energy side, New Zealand, it's within grasp to have totally renewable energy. We have around about 80% renewable as we speak. A lot of that has come from the hydro investment of earlier decades, and that's not really an option for expansion now because people don't like seeing the remaining wild and scenic rivers dammed. Could be potential for more micro hydro, which doesn't require that in rural areas. We have a wind energy sector, obviously, the solar panels and incentives. But here we are right now looking to be zero carbon by 2030, and we still have roughly 20% of our power generated from fossil fuel. About 17% of the total comes from a big coal and gas-fired station 60 miles south of Auckland. That will have to go. Now, what do I see filling the gap in New Zealand? I think it's going to be green hydrogen, right? Because we have so much renewable power, we have the capacity to make and store green hydrogen to cover the gap. In a good rain year, we can probably reach most of our renewable goals without thermal, but not every year is a good rain year for your hydroelectricity supply. So recently the foundation that's been formed in my name has issued a paper on green hydrogen and its potential for use in New Zealand to fill that gap, to take out the fossil fuel supply. And it also has export potential, and we already have some Japanese investment in green hydrogen in New Zealand now. So I think technology is our friend in moving to a totally sustainable energy, and then applying that not only across the electricity sector, but also into the transport sector. And if Amsterdam can say no fossil-fueled cars by 2030, what about the rest of us? We should be starting to make this stand and planning for that change as well.
예, 우리 뉴질랜드의 여러 가지 에너지나 교통 또 앞으로의 그 기후변화 대응 정책을 우리 제주도도 많이 참고하면서 앞으로 협력이 이루어지기를 바라겠습니다. 조금 주제를 바꿔보겠습니다. 우리 아까 제가 시작할 때도 말씀드렸습니다마는 뉴질랜드는 세계 최초로 여성 참정권을 도입한 나라입니다. 그리고 아주 전 세계적으로 높은 그 성평등 지수를 자랑하고 있는 그런 나라인데요. 우리 제주도도 평화의 섬에 여러 가지 주제들이 있습니다만은 여기서 성평등 지표를 높여나가는 게 우리 평화의 섬에서 우리가 추구해야 될 내용이다라고 보고 있습니다. 그래서 최초로 우리 성평등 정책관도 도입을 해서 이런 부분들을 적극적으로 추진을 해나가려고 하는데요. 우리 헬렌 총리님, 그 뉴질랜드가 그 성평등 부분에서 그동안 전 세계에서도 그래도 앞장서 왔던 그러한 경험과 함께 우리 제주가 추구하고 있는 그 성평등 여러 가지 면이 있습니다. 정치 참여, 공직 진출, 경제 활동, 뭐 사회적인 뭐 인식, 교육 등등 많은 지표들이 있을 텐데 우리 성평등 그 지표를 높여나가는 과정에서 어떠한 경로로서 노력을 해나가면 좋을지에 대한 경험과 조언을 부탁드리겠습니다.
Well, New Zealand was an early starter. Women won the right to vote after a big campaign in New Zealand in 1893. And last year we had the 125th anniversary of that. In the very year that countries like the United Kingdom were celebrating their centenary of women voting, we were celebrating 125 years. Now, it would be wrong to say that we made fast progress after that, but we've certainly caught up in the late 20th century and beyond. We have had obviously 3 women prime ministers, the latest Jacinda Ardern, the current prime minister, who's doing very well, in my opinion. For more than half the last 22 years, New Zealanders have had a woman prime minister, so they kind of expect that this is going to happen, on average as often as men are prime ministers, and that sends a very powerful signal to girls and young women that they can go all the way in the society. So I think that role modelling at the top is important. We have just exceeded 40% of our parliament as female. Contrast that with, I understand, about 17% in Korea, which is on the low side, below the global average. And I think it really is important for the political parties to say, we want to encourage women to stand. We're a women-friendly environment. We want to make space for women candidates because, there's an old saying, if you are out of sight, you are out of mind. If women aren't in these decision-making bodies, whether it's the government of Jeju or the Parliament of Korea or the cabinet or whatever, who's going to speak up for the specific needs and interests and perspectives that women have? So I put a lot of emphasis on the importance of gender equality in decision-making. Secondly, on the economy, Korea still lags somewhat in many developed economies in the proportion of women in the workforce and in the pay gap, which is quite significant. In New Zealand, when I began as Prime Minister around 1999, we had a pay gap of around 20%. Men earned roughly, 20% more than women. Now, this concerned us. We wanted more women in the workforce and we wanted to reduce the pay gap. And we did 3 things that I think had a significant influence. One was to introduce paid parental leave for men and women at the time of birth of a new baby as of right under law. till that time, people only got that paid leave if they were in a union, a trade union, which had that kind of collective agreement. And in the modern economy, most people aren't covered by unions and collective agreements, so the state has to act. That was influential. Secondly, we said that for all 3- and 4-year-olds who were in childcare, which has a high quality regulation in New Zealand, half the time would be free. So you got 20 hours free childcare. This was also tremendous incentive for women to go back to work, knowing that their children would be properly cared for, and it was affordable. Because if you're on a low income, often the cost of childcare can just about wipe out any benefit from, economic benefit from going back to work. And thirdly, we extended annual holidays, because when both parents are working, or when it's a single parent trying to cope with school children, you need holiday time to be able to cover school holiday periods for your children. So, you know, these things kick in and they start to make considerable change. And I was elected 20 years ago as PM. As I said, pay gap, about 20%. Today, it's down to under 10. It's 9.2%. And it's all about women coming back into the workforce and being able to progress their careers instead of having very lengthy times out when they're not going ahead the way men are going ahead. So I've been very interested to see Prime Minister Abe in Japan adopt a number of these measures, also encouraging men to take the paid parental leave, increasing the childcare provision. There are practical things you can do to really drive gender equality in the workplace.
예, 그 총리님께서 말씀하셨던 부분들이 우리 어떻게 보면 한국 전체가 앞으로 가야 될 방향이기도 하고, 특히 우리 제주도의 우리 성평등 정책, 그리고 우리 여성들의 사회활동, 경제활동, 참여와 이걸 위한 여러 가지 여건들을 위해서 해야 될 부분들을 아마 먼저 앞서 나간 경험으로 저희들이 잘 참고를 해야 될 것 같습니다. 생각보다 시간이 지금 빨리 가서 묻고 싶은 건 많은데 지금 시간이 지금 얼마 남지 않은 것 같습니다. 그러면 그 중에서도 제가 여기 올라오기 전에 미리 쪽지를 받고 온 부분이 있습니다. 아까 우리 헬렌께서는 제스프리, 뉴질랜드 키위가 전 세계적으로 유명하고요. 뉴질랜드의 낙농업, 그리고 와인, 뉴질랜드의 농산품들은 유럽 시장 전체에 대해서 아주 높은 그런 평가를 받고 있을 뿐만 아니라 심지어는 중국에서도 가장 고급 농산물로 이렇게 팔리기도 하고 있습니다. 그래서 우리 1차 산업 쪽에서까지 질문을 해주신 건데요. 제주도도 우리 청정 환경에서 나오는 제주만의 1차 산업, 농산물, 축산물, 낙농업, 수산물 이러한 부분들을 잘 키워감으로써 어떤 지속 가능하고 경쟁력 있는 농업으로 가야 될 텐데, 뉴질랜드의 다른 산업들도 있지만 뉴질랜드의 특히 농업을 비롯한 1차 산업들이 전 세계적인 경쟁력을 가지면서도 지속 가능하고 이게 뉴질랜드의 중요한 그 성장 동력이 되고 있는 그 비결이 어떤 것인지 그 부분에 대해서 총리님의 견해를 물어봐 달라는 제가 부탁을 받았습니다.
Well, historically, the New Zealand farmer has been very quick to pick up advances in science and technology to drive productivity in farming and in horticulture, by the way, and in wine. So the products you see from New Zealand are not just a matter of kind of leaving the rain to fall and the grass to grow. There's an enormous amount of science investment and technology investment behind that. And you know, New Zealand is also an exporter of advanced agricultural technologies and services, so that builds on the primary economy base. I think if there's an issue for New Zealand now, it is around sustainable farming. The intensification has had quite a significant impact on water quality, and that's one of the issues that the New Zealand government is presently addressing. As well, when you look at our greenhouse gas footprint, half our greenhouse gas emissions come from agriculture, and we need to get that down as part of the zero carbon initiative. We have to, again, invest heavily in science to try to reduce the methane emissions from animals. And also science helps with the nitrous oxide emissions from the fertiliser and runoff as well. But New Zealand has only been able to, develop as a first world country with the strong agricultural, horticultural, primary industry base because of the investment in science and technology. Now, what has been the key to Korea's success? You have invested in science and technology. So keep on doing it. And also, I think, any ideas and research from Korea and other countries on how to make agriculture clean and green, that's definitely an area for exchange.
네, 그런 방향에서 앞으로 제주와 뉴질랜드 간의 농업, 특히 기술적인 협력 부분에서 해야 될 일이 많다고 보여집니다. 마지막 한 질문을 드릴게요. 시간은 거의 다 돼갑니다만은 뉴질랜드는 인구 400만의 작은 나라이지만 반지의 제왕이라는 이 영화 제작 산업, 그리고 광학이라든지 로봇, 그리고 ICT, 정보통신 이런 부분에서 작지만 세계 최고의 기술과 개발력을 가진 이러한 벤처기업들, 중소기업들을 통해서 전 세계의 기술 발전에 아주 주도적으로 참여했기도 합니다. 그런 면에서는 우리 제주도가 또 추구하고 있는 이런 창조적인 이런 미래 산업에 대해서 협력도 가능하고 하나의 역할 모델이 될 수도 있는 부분인데요. 총리님께 제가 드릴 질문은 그 뉴질랜드가 전 세계의 어떤 기술 발전의 공급 체인에 참여하는 작지만 강한 기업들과 그 연구 개발의 어떤 혁신 능력 이런 부분들이 어떤 부분에서 강한지하고 그게 계속적으로 나올 수 있는 동력과 앞으로 그것을 유지시켜가기 위한 국가적인 차원의 전력과 노력이 어떤 것인지 그런 것들이 제주에 참고될 수 있는 점에 대해서 코멘트를 부탁드리겠습니다.
Well, going back to the early 2000s, when I was Prime Minister, we had what we called a growth through innovation framework. And we said there are innovative sectors in New Zealand which can contribute to the growth and development of the whole economy. One of them was ICT. Another was the film and television and screen sector. And the third was design, better by design. And we sought to add value across the economy through supporting these enabling sectors, as we call them. Now, obviously, we don't have a Samsung, but we do have a very innovative and creative ICT sector. And one of the things which the New Zealand Trade and Enterprise, export-oriented government body always looks out for, are where are the niche opportunities for these small companies coming out of New Zealand to get into the global value chain. I understand a delegation of young ICT entrepreneurs is coming up to Korea shortly, but we can look for opportunities in your value chains and Microsoft, Google, whatever, because these companies are looking to buy the best ideas from around the world. One thing that's always very interesting to me is that in the modern economy, the model of development of small businesses in these areas is quite different from the tradition. If you took manufacturing, normally you had to establish a market at home before you could get big enough to go abroad. With industries like ICT, actually your good idea needs to get to market very, very fast. You may have no scale at all in your home market, but you have an idea that has value that can be snapped up globally. And of course, that power of invention, the power to capitalize on something very innovative, then can bring you capital, which you can then reinvest into other innovative endeavors. So I think this, ICT technology sector of the New Zealand economy is extremely important, not only for adding value to what have been the traditional sectors, but for enabling young entrepreneurs to be able to capitalize quite early and then keep reinvesting in companies of scale.
네, 감사합니다. 사실 더 듣고 싶은 이야기들이 많습니다만은 저희한테 주어진 시간이 다 됐습니다. 여러분 잘 들으셨겠지만 우리 뉴질랜드의 국가를 운영했던 경험뿐만 아니라 우리 여러 가지 우리가 추구해야 되는 세계적인 가치들, 그리고 우리 이 시대적으로 부닥치는 여러 가지 문제들에 대해서 정말 경험과 실천을 통해서 리더십을 지금도 발휘하고 계시고 우리한테 많은 가르침을 준 좋은 시간이었다고 생각합니다. 특히 오늘 참석하신 분들 중에서 우리 헬렌이 어떤 도전을 해왔고 현재도 어떤 도전을 하고 있는가, 이런 거에 대해서 조금 더 알고 싶으신 분들은 인터넷 가면요, 헬렌의 도전이라는 다큐멘터리가 아주 감동적으로 제작이 된 게 있습니다. 특히 우리 여학생들은 반드시 그 부분을 보고 참고하기를 바라겠고요. 우리 헬렌, 앞으로 한국과 뉴질랜드도 지금 많은 협력 관계가 있습니다만은 우리 제주가 청정 환경이라든지 기후 변화의 대응이라든지 농업과 문화, 앞으로 ICT 산업을 간다는 이런 면에서는 제주가 뉴질랜드부터 배울 것도 많고, 또 우리 농민들, 우리의 학생들, 또 우리의 기업가들이 뉴질랜드로 서로 교류를 하면서 그 협력할 것들이 많다고 생각합니다. 우리 제주도에 대해서 계속 관심을 가지고 지지해 주시고 제주와 뉴질랜드의 앞으로 협력 관계를 맺어 나가는데도 많은 도움을 주시기를 바라겠습니다. 앞으로 더 큰 인류를 위한 역할을 크게 해주시기를 바라겠습니다. 우리 여러분, 우리 헬렌에게 감사의 박수를 보내면서 이 시간 마치겠습니다. Thank you. 감사합니다.
Thank you. I'm afraid we'll have to end the session here in the interest of time and would like to invite Governor Won to wrap up the session with some final remarks.
예, 따로 마무리 말씀 안 드리겠습니다. 오늘 헬렌 진심으로 감사를 드리고요. 우리 진작에 주시지. 제가 질문을 소개만 하겠습니다. 이미 시간이 지났기 때문에 아마 시간 활용될 것 같지는 않고요. 이런 질문이 있었다는 걸 말씀드리겠습니다. 우리나라 농업 정책은 농산물이 과잉 생산될 경우에는 정부에서 보상금을 지급하면서 폐기하는 이러한 현상이 계속 반복되고 있고, 소비자들은 막상 농산물 가게에서는 비싸게 사 먹어야 되는 이런 반대되는 현상이 해결이 안 되고 계속하고 있는데, 뉴질랜드에서의 해법은 무엇인가요? 혹시 짧게 대답할 수 있겠습니까?
Well, we produce far more than we would ever consume ourselves. That's the basis on which we have a highly efficient agricultural exporting sector. And we, many years ago, more than 30 years ago, got out of agricultural subsidies, so our farmers compete with the world.
예, 그 다음은 그냥 들으시기만 할 때였습니다. 우리 학생들이 적어주신 것 같은데, 고형 폐기물 중 도시의 일상생활과 가장 밀접한 것이 담배꽁초 문제라고 생각을 합니다. 하수구를 막아서 비가 올 때 범람하는 문제가 발생하고 있는데 어떻게 생각하십니까? 이런 질문이 있었고요. 또 한 분이 영어로 적어주셨는데 제가 읽어보겠습니다. How can Chinese people take part in the Jeju Forum to promote the economic development of China, yes, and South Korea? Yeah, and what measures does the Korean government have? 자, 이 부분은 우리 중국인들이 우리 제주 포럼에 참여하고 중국과 한국 정부와의 경제 발전에 기여할 수 있는 이런 방법들이 무엇인가, 이런 질문을 주셨는데, 이 부분은 우리 헬렌이 답변하기보다는 제가 추후에 적절한 방법으로 답변을 드리도록 하겠습니다. 다시 한번 감사의 박수로 마치겠습니다.
Thank you, Governor Won, for your remarks. That brings this session to a close. Please give our two honored panelists a round of applause for their time and their insights that they've shared with us today.